Kaley Cuoco's young Sheldon cameo revealed how to fix a TBBT problem, but the prequel never reused it. By author name 1400 words, when young Sheldon was first announced, it sparked curiosity and skepticism in equal measure. Could a prequel to the beloved The Big Bang Theory TBBT work without the full ensemble? Could a show centered on the most eccentric member of the group thrive without the actors who made him tolerable? Surprisingly, young Sheldon carved out a distinctive identity and emotional tone separate from the laugh-track rhythms of its predecessor. But in the middle of this transformation, young Sheldon did something brilliant and fleeting that suggested it had cracked one of TBBT's long-standing issues. That something was Kaley Cuoco's surprising, unseen cameo, and it was a masterstroke in subtle, emotional storytelling. Her uncredited appearance wasn't flashy or dramatic. It didn't require her to dress up as Penny or even appear on screen. In fact, her voice-only cameo during a Season 3 episode of Young Sheldon was so delicately embedded that many viewers only realized it upon reading the credits. But that small voice role inadvertently fixed one of the Big Bang Theory's most nagging problems: its often shallow emotional perspective on Sheldon's inner life. Ironically, the Young Sheldon producers found the solution, and then never used it again. Let's explore what Kaley Cuoco's cameo accomplished, the TBBT problem it retroactively addressed, and why the prequel series never tapped into that magic again. The cameo that almost flew under the radar. Cuoco's cameo occurs in Young Sheldon Season 3, Episode 10, titled Teenager Soup and a Little Ball of Fib. During the episode, Sheldon undergoes a terrifying experience for any germaphobe. He takes a bath at school, and in the aftermath, falls into a feverish sleep. It's in this fever dream that he hears a calming, comforting voice, one that speaks to him with affection and kindness. That voice? Kaley Cuoco's. She's never identified as Penny. She's not physically seen. But to longtime TBBT fans, the vocal tone and signature warmth were unmistakable. Cuoco's voice provided Sheldon's subconscious with comfort during a vulnerable moment, and it was a clever nod to how emotionally important Penny was to adult Sheldon, even if he rarely admitted it in the original series. This was a storytelling sleight of hand, an Easter egg wrapped in genuine emotional insight. And it briefly opened a door to a version of Sheldon that TBBT only sporadically revealed: the child within the genius, yearning for softness, connection, and familiarity in a world he finds overwhelming. The problem it fixed: The Big Bang Theory's emotional blind spot. While The Big Bang Theory was one of the most successful sitcoms of the 21st century, it often treated Sheldon Cooper's emotional development as a punchline. Yes, there were poignant moments: his proposal to Amy, his Nobel Prize acceptance speech, his breakdown after the death of Professor Proton, but these were the exceptions. Most of the time, Sheldon's psychological quirks were a source of comedy, not empathy. Penny, in particular, was often treated as a Sheldon whisperer. She got through to him when others couldn't. She understood how to soothe him, motivate him, and even confront him without making things worse. Yet TBBT rarely paused to reflect on why Penny held that special status in Sheldon's emotional world. What shaped that bond? What unspoken need did she fulfill? Cuoco's Young Sheldon cameo answered that question in less than 60 seconds of screen time. In the fog of Sheldon's fevered subconscious, his mind conjures not his mother, not his twin sister, and not even a teacher or professor, but a feminine, calming voice that feels intrinsically safe. That's who Penny becomes in TBBT, not just a neighbor or friend, but a tether to emotional regulation. In doing so, young Sheldon reframed Sheldon's relationship with Penny. It suggested that their connection was not only narrative convenience or comedic contrast, but a real psychological lifeline. It was something Sheldon's young mind had already begun to form, and that made adult Sheldon's attachment to Penny feel not just believable, but deeply rooted. A brilliant technique never revisited. Despite the elegance of Cuoco's cameo, young Sheldon never used this narrative technique again, not with Cuoco, not with other TBBT characters. Jim Parsons continued his role as narrator, often adding humorous or reflective voiceovers. But the idea of Sheldon's subconscious being shaped by voices or memories of future figures in his life was left unexplored. This is a shame because Cuoco's cameo unlocked a potential gold mine. Imagine future episodes where Sheldon's inner voice reflects a lesson he hasn't yet learned, but will one day internalize. Or moments of anxiety being soothed by imagined fragments of Amy Farrah Fowler's logic or Leonard's loyalty. These moments could have been delivered subtly, never as canon-breaking, time-traveling gimmicks, but as whispers from the future that humanize the boy genius in powerful ways. It wouldn't even have to happen often. The rare inclusion of these future voices could have created emotional tentpoles throughout the series, reminders that Sheldon isn't just a child prodigy heading toward greatness, but also a human being slowly forming bonds that will shape his adult life. The missed emotional opportunity. What Cuoco's cameo illuminated is that young Sheldon had an opportunity to reverse engineer the emotional architecture of Sheldon's adult relationships. The show often focused on Sheldon's evolving dynamic with his father, George S.R., and the toll his genius took on his family. But it rarely delved into how Sheldon's childhood experiences emotionally prepared him to eventually love and be loved by others. This is where recurring subconscious cues, like Cuoco's, could have come into play. These wouldn't be traditional cameos. They'd be emotional imprints. The young brain storing glimpses of what it needs before those needs are fulfilled. That's what makes Cuoco's voice so impactful in context. It's not just an Easter egg, it's a metaphor. By never revisiting this technique, the show missed the chance to build bridges between the young Sheldon and the adult Sheldon in a more emotionally layered way. Imagine, for example, young Sheldon retreating from a social situation and hearing a faint echo of Amy's future voice encouraging him to keep trying. Or a moment of scientific failure being soothed by Leonard's future encouragement. These moments would not only reward fans of TBBT, but also provide young Sheldon with a deeper narrative resonance. Why it was likely never reused. Of course, there are practical and creative reasons why Cuoco's cameo was a one-time occurrence. Part of its charm was that it was unexpected. Repeating it might have diluted the impact or even confused viewers who weren't die-hard TBBT fans. Additionally, the creative direction of young Sheldon focused heavily on grounded family dynamics, a more sentimental and realistic tone than TBBT's heightened sitcom style. There's also the question of access. Not all TBBT actors may have been available or interested in providing voice cameos. And producers might have worried about leaning too hard on nostalgia, rather than allowing young Sheldon to stand on its own. Still, these concerns don't erase the fact that Cuoco's voice cameo worked exceptionally well. It was subtle enough to avoid disrupting the show's tone, yet rich enough in emotional subtext to leave a lasting impression. That balance could have been replicated selectively with care to deepen the emotional trajectory of Sheldon's character. A lesson in emotional continuity. Kaley Cuoco's uncredited cameo in young Sheldon remains one of the cleverest nods the prequel made to its parent series.